Hi, art family. Welcome to my studio. It's Dena Tollefson, and I am so glad to have you here today. So it's going to be a great topic today. It's all about merchandise, creating merchandise and earning income from your artwork. And this is a especially exciting thing because you don't have to only just sell your originals. You can also be making a great living, and there are many artists that do this, that make their living just from selling merchandise or licensing their art. So here's an example of, let me grab this here. Whoops, it's stuck under there. There we go. Whoops, sorry for the camera movement. All right, so here's an example. This is a t-shirt that I created. This was back in 2014, a t-shirt design that I created for a company called Crazy Shirts. And so Crazy Shirts is a company based out of Hawaii in the United States, and they have retail stores all on the West Coast. And they, what they do is they work with freelance artists. So when you license your artwork, essentially you're doing freelance work. So let me show you the catalog that this came out of. So I designed it, and then I sent it to their licensing manager, and then they put the, grab this over here. They put it out in a catalog. So here was the catalog where my design appeared. And then they sell the artwork. So I got an upfront check for the t-shirt design. And then they were able to just go ahead and make as many of them as they wanted, and then they sold those. So I understand they sold, I don't know, it was like 1,500 of them or 2,000 t-shirts, something like that. But that's Crazy Shirts. So we'll talk a little bit more about all kinds of opportunities for you to get into art licensing, and I'll have a list of companies that do art licensing, so you can get started doing this as well. So I'm going to check the chat here. Let me go and see if anybody has joined. And if you are new to my channel, I welcome you, and I'm so glad to have you here today. And then if you are coming back again, I welcome you back, and it's wonderful to have you here. Oh my goodness, hey look, it's my father, Dietrich Schaefer is here. Hi Daddy. My father just turned 80 and my mother just turned 80 this year. So say happy birthday to them if you're on the chat. And Madonna is here. Hello Madonna. Hey, my mother Helen Schaefer is here. And Painting Stoof, hi. Hi Steph, good to see you. And oh, Steph, you bought a book on art licensing. Yeah, you know, I did too. There aren't a lot of resources out there that talk about, I'm gonna move the camera just a little closer here to me. There are not a lot of resources out there that talk about art licensing or how to go about doing it. So Steph, I'm like you, I got a book on how to do it as well. So let's get started on this. And also, if you'd like to chat in the chat, I'd love to hear from you. If you want to stay quiet, you know, that works as well. So let's go through all of the things, and hopefully, and let me know in the chat if you can see the print on my slides, if you can read that. Hopefully you can read that. So we're going to start the topics today. What is art licensing? Defining it and talking about it a little bit here. And then examples of art licensing. So I want to give you some examples of what art licensing is and how you can participate. Let's talk about how much money you can make from that as well. And the print size looks good. Okay, Daddy, thank you. All right, wonderful. And then how to get started with art licensing, where you can find art licensing deals. So I have several slides that have a description of where you can go, how you can find it, and a specific even links of some companies that do art licensing, so you can get started today. And then I also will include those links in afterwards, after the live stream. I'll go back into the description and put some of those links in there so you can just, you know, directly click right off of the description on the video. And then the other thing would be the resources, additional resources to learn more, and then answering your questions. So let me know as we go through if you have questions. I'd love to answer your questions. And I also just want to show you here, I had a art licensing deal with a company called Walking Dots. So t-shirts are one example of things. Here are phone cases that had my images on them, and they did greeting cards and they did art journals. They had a lot of different merchandise. So those are other examples of what you can have for your licensing. All right, so let's get started here and let's talk about what is art licensing. So you are the licensee, and the licensee is the person who has the copyright for the image, and then the manufacturer of that is the licensor. So you're going to get paid a fee or you get paid a royalty. So a fee would be like a check that you'd get up front, or you might get a check afterwards. A royalty is going to be a percentage based on sales of how many units they sell. And you're going to get a royalty for letting the manufacturer use or essentially borrow your artwork images. So the artwork images basically are a photograph. So here's an original painting of mine. So for example, I would take a photo of this and I would want to be using my best camera lighting, my best angles, all of that kind of thing, and use a high quality camera. And then I would be sending the digital file or the JPEG, or they might want a PNG or something like that. Most companies just want a JPEG. But you send that image to them, just email it to them, and then they go ahead and put this, you sign a contract, and they put it on their merchandise. So you're going to send them this digital file, and it needs to be original artwork. So it can be painted work, it can be drawn, it can be really anything. You could even do, I have a friend, Allie Lahner, she does beaded skulls. Allie could take a photo of her beaded skulls and then send that photo in to a manufacturer, and then they can put that on merchandise. Or it can also be completely computer generated. Those of you out there who do digital art, this is a perfect medium for that. You make your computer generated art. The whole key here though is that it needs to be original. It has to be original artwork. So what you have to own the copyright for it. Now that sounds scary, like, oh, what's owning the copyright mean? But what it means when you own the copyright is just that it's your original work. So like, for example, I had a still life, I painted some hairs. Here I made, some wildlife. You can do, whatever it is that you do, as long as you're not copying somebody else's artwork, because they own that copyright. So if you made, for example, Pencil Connoisseur, if you're watching this later or if you're on the chat right now, Pencil, for example, creates original characters, and those would be perfect. Or 180R, for example, creates original artwork, characters. Those would be perfect for licensing, that type of thing. If you make a copy of, for example, like the Peanuts comic strip, something like that, if you make that, for example, that is already owned by another artist, and that would be infringing on their copyright. So the key here, and I have it in bold, is it just needs to be original artwork. And you also do not need to apply for a copyright. When you create original artwork, whether it's a song or a poem or anything that's written, if you create artwork, that's already covered under copyright protection. Okay, so I'm gonna check the chat and see what you guys are up to here. And okay, so painting stoops. So Steph, you're asking, Dena, do you have a specific resolution you like to have for your images? Do licensors ask for specific size they need to blow the image to? And Steph, yes, absolutely. The key is you want to use your nicest, your fullest resolution that is on your camera. And fill up the camera entirely. Avoid having to crop out anything. So the different license companies that I work with, they have different requirements. Some of them are going to ask for a specific dimension. So if it goes on a coffee mug or it goes on something like that, they might ask you to take the artwork and have it fit within a certain size. And then you can just, crop what you have or do something like that. And then if you use a program, I use Adobe Photoshop Elements to do my cut, like my cropping and that type of thing. They might say, we want the artwork to be this many pixels by this many pixels, or they might say, we want this many inches by this many inches. Then you can just go in and make it the exact size that they want. And I use a program, and most license companies, they want the file to be as large as possible. So they will ask you to send it typically like a free photo transfer program called WeTransfer. And that's WeTransfer.com. And that is a free site. And this is how you, and so I use Photoshop, Adobe, A-D-O-B, I can't spell this morning, Elements. And this is around, I think it's $99 and you to get a license for that. And I've had that for multiple years. That's what I've always used. And then WeTransfer is how I do it. So, okay, so Steph, you're asking, I read somewhere that you are covered by your own copyright, but if you have to take someone to court, unless you register the copyright, you'll have to pay your lawyer fees and have less chance to win the case. Yeah, and Steph, I have read that as well. However, if you're in a situation where you're going to court and doing something like that, hopefully nobody is ever in that situation. That, you know, hopefully you don't have to do that. Hopefully you can just write, you know, if there'd be a copyright infringement, something like that. Hopefully you could, you know, just write a letter, a cease and desist letter, something like that. But I'll also say that the companies that manufacture, for example, Walking Dots, who I worked with several years ago on this project, they have lawyers that go off and will actually actively look for this. And so the manufacturer oftentimes will go and will be looking for copyright infringements on their artists. And so that's what's really nice if you work with a company and they make the product and sell it. Oftentimes their legal team, if they have one, is going off and looking for infringement. If you go your own route where you might do like Redbubble, something like that, yes, it is possible that people would infringe, but it's sometimes it's hard to get a hold of them. It's just kind of a thing that happens with artwork. So, okay. Yeah, okay, good. Okay, and so Madonna, you're saying we WeTransfer at work all the time. It's easy and convenient. Yeah, Madonna, absolutely. My sister from Missouri. WeTransfer is a great thing. All you do with WeTransfer is you just go WeTransfer.com, and then it will have you choose, do you want the free or do you want the one where you have to pay? And I always pick the one for free. I think you get like 2 gig of you can send files up to 2 gig, something like that. All you need is their email address and your file, and that's all you need to send, and they'll get a notification that you sent them a file, and you'll even get a notification when they open the file. Okay? All right. Yeah, absolutely, Steph. Some manufacturers do look for infringements, and it's a deal, but they're usually very good about that. Okay, so now that we've talked about what is art licensing, let's give some examples of art licensing. And put this over here. Okay, so really any product surface, so anything that accepts a printed design is an option for art licensing. And literally the sky is the limit. If you think about, have you ever walked into a store? I know I've done this, where I've walked into a store and then I'm looking and I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish that my, fill in the blank. I wish that my flowers or my swans or my skies were on this bedding, or were on this, wallpaper, or were on this t-shirt, all of those kind of things. If you're like me, you've had those thoughts, and or really on these dinner plates. If you name it, if you can put anything, if you have a surface, it needs decoration. And so manufacturers know that when they have beautiful artwork, wine bottles, you name it, anything can be licensed. So just a phone case, a journal, if journals were just a plain cover, when they have artwork on it, they're more appealing to people. So would you rather have your thing like this, or would you rather have artwork on it? Most people pick that they'd like to have artwork. Manufacturers know that, and that's why they will either work with, they'll have an in-house art team, or they work with freelancers. And when you do art licensing, you are a freelancer. So let me show you a couple of the deals that I'm currently in. I just got a deal with AJ Wallpaper. They are out of Australia, and they also have offices on the gosh, I want to say California or Washington, D.C. or Washington. Um, I'm not exactly sure of their U.S. location, but I know that they're out of Sydney, Australia. And then I also had a licensing deal with Crayola. So in this case, Crayola paid me use images of me using their products. So I was paid for every photo and every video that I created. That's a licensing deal. I have a deal right now with iCanvas. And iCanvas is a company out of Illinois, and I've been with them several years. They're wonderful. They will license, so they will sell online if people want to buy print. Also, if Mona Escaludo is on the chat later or is watching us on the upload, she and I are both registered artists with iCanvas. So how that works is I get a royalty for every art print, whether it's a giclée on canvas or on paper, that type of thing. Every one that is sold, then I will get a royalty for that. And it works out two different ways. So there's a royalty if it was sold to a consumer, which is like a regular person or regular household, or I get a royalty at a lower rate if it was sold wholesale to one of the manufacturers or not manufacturers, one of the retailers that will put it into their retail store. So for iCanvas, they have Bed Bath & Beyond. They supply artwork for Target, Bed Bath & Beyond, Nordstrom, Kirkland's. A lot of different retailers get their supply from iCanvas. And so I know that I have had several these sales that have gone in where the buyer from the retailer goes to iCanvas and then had selected some of my work. So that's kind of exciting because that then means that it's in retail stores as well. Noir Gallery, I'm in Noir Gallery. That's new for me. They also do like what iCanvas does, but it's just done to consumers only. And then I have a new deal here, which I'm super excited about. I want to unbox that here today. Grab it here. So I've got this, get my scissor out here. I'm gonna open this up. So this came from Finley and Company, and these are pocket squares that they make for men's suits. And so they sell into, these are samples that they're sending me of my work. So how this works is, oh, this is nice. Okay, so let me open the ribbon here. So what they did is they're licensing my images, and oh, these are nice. So here is, I'm seeing this for the first time. This is one of my paintings, and as you can see here, it looks like they've got, so they've got my name here, and then they've got their company logo, Finley and Company. I know that these are made, these are printed in Italy, and then they are, here's the back side. They are hand stitched. This is all silk, 100% silk. And oh, I love these. Okay, so they sell these. These retail for $90 a piece in stores that deal with high-end men's clothing. And then I know you can buy, this is called the Dena Tollefson collection is what they said. So let me get the other one out here. And then if you get all three, then I think they're like $70 each, something like this. Oh, this is great. I love this. Okay. All right, so let me check the chat here and see. Yeah, and they look for, okay, and yes, thank you so much, Madonna. And hey, Ian, good to see you. So Ian, we're talking about how to earn royalties from your artwork by letting manufacturers borrow your images. Essentially, you're doing art licensing. And so I like this one. This one's, I think, my favorite. So this one was basically what they were looking for, Steph, you were asking about certain sizes. So Finley and Company only works with squares. And so I offered them some square size canvases that I had, but this one was not a square, so I ended up cropping it. This particular painting actually was quite a bit wider over on this direction, and then I just cropped it to fit in their specifications. So, but basically these pocket squares, they fit, like if this is your shirt pocket, and then you have this little bit of the pocket square poking out. So these are some examples of this is wonderful. Okay, so these are some examples of some deals that I'm currently in. And I've been doing art licensing for the last 5 years. And I've been selling in galleries for 20 years. So I'll say newer to the art licensing part, but I've been doing it long enough now to be pretty excited about it. And as far as income goes, what's nice is that if you think about it, like here's an original painting. If you sell the original painting, it's gone, and in order to make more money, you have to make another piece of art. But with art licensing, not only can you sell your original to someone, you can also take digital images of it and then sell over and over and over and over for years and years and years. You can make art licensing income from that image where you are loaning it to manufacturers, and it's always a specified period of time, and it's going to be at a specified rate. So now the next question would be, now that we talked about what is art licensing and some examples, the question is how much money can you make? So if we look here, you can make, it's going to be variable. And some of the factors are you can earn a royalty for each sale, which is like my deal with AJ Wallpaper and with Noir Gallery and iCanvas. Those are deals where I get a royalty for every sale that's made. Flat fee up front, that's the deal that I have with Finley and Company. And then, and that's also the deal that I had with Crayola. So how much you can make is based on these factors: the volumes of sales, how many units they make and sell, the product category. So shirts, t-shirts, that type of thing, coffee mugs, postcards, phone cases, plates, all of these things are each going to have their own percent, typically their own percent. Wallpaper, it's going to have its own percent. So there are industry standards and they kind of vary, but it really has to do more with your reputation. How much money have you made for that company in the past? They increase your rate? What's the going rate for everybody else? That type of thing as well. So, okay, and I'm going to check the chat, see what you guys are up to. And so, thank you, Steph. Thank you. I think it looks really good on the silk too. I'm really excited. And I hope that they will, Finley and Company, I hope that they will license with me again. This is super exciting. All right, so now let's take a look here. And let's look at royalties. Okay, oh, and also reputation. So if it's exclusive versus a non-exclusive license. So let me talk to you a little bit about that. So if you, let me see what Helen says here. My mother, okay. Helen says, I can't wait to touch the pocket squares. Yes, yeah, that fabric is super soft. It's like super soft. I'm very excited about it. Okay, so exclusive versus non-exclusive license. So let's talk a little bit about that. So an exclusive license, I do mostly non-exclusive licenses, and the difference between them is if you have an exclusive license, that means that that image, for example, let's say it's this image of Hannah's sky. If I do an exclusive licensing deal, you're going to do it for a certain period of time. It might be 12 months and then they say it's renewable or something like that, or they might say we're going to print 5,000 units and then we'll if we want additional units, then we would sign another deal, something like that. But if you do an exclusive license, that means that that is the only place where that image can be licensed. So they might say it's exclusive only to t-shirts, or exclusive only to coffee mugs. And then if you had another company that was interested in that image, then maybe that other company did wallpaper or wall stickers or, something like that. Then it is okay to do that. I like the non-exclusive, so typically the license deals that I do would be like, for example, worldwide non-exclusive, which means that I'm able to license the same photo and get money for it from other manufacturers as well. All right, and so let me check and say, oh, and hey, Rebecca is here. Good to see you, Rebecca. And so Ian says that you have a stressy week with the COPA, and you had to break out your emergency-only Bee Gees, greatest album to chill you out. Oh my God. I love the Bee Gees, Ian. I hear you on that. And I miss the Bee Gees. And yes, they were amazing, and they are fantastic. ABBA is good for for stress relief too. Absolutely. Yeah, it is. It's a stressful topic. Absolutely. Oh my goodness. I love it. I love it that you used Bee Gees. That's awesome. All right. And so as far as how much money that you can make off of the licensing, royalties will run anywhere from, basing on the category, they might be a few percent per sale, up to maybe 10% for every sale that's made. And then flat fees could be, they'll run anywhere from usually $100 for a flat fee up to, $10,000, $100,000, and up. Depends on who the company is, all of that kind of thing. So, so let me see what you're saying here. Okay, so Helen is saying, yeah, that you're sorry to hear it. And then, and Steph, you're asking, did you go back and review your old videos and change your settings? That type of thing. Yeah, it's important that we as artists follow the law. No, the law's been in place for many years, but it's important that we follow the law so that we can all be compliant, and everything will be fine. And Rebecca's saying, interesting topic. Yeah, Rebecca, it's so neat. And Rebecca, I thought about you the other day in putting this together. You did, for the Great Pumpkin Challenge, you did a design for wrapping paper. And so your design of your oranges, for example, would be a perfect thing that you could license to wallpaper or to wrapping paper companies, or to wallpaper companies, or to fabric companies. So later in the presentation, I have a company that, Rebecca, you might be interested in approaching. I have it in a list and a link of how to get to them. It's a fabric company that licenses fabrics. So Erica, later on, if Erica, if you're watching, later, Erica Lancaster does a lot of work where she will take a digital file. So she'll make, for example, like if this was a painting of hers, and then she would cut it out or have it on a plain background, and then she would have it, multiples of it, or have a repeat of it. And so that would be a classic example of something that would work really, really well for wallpaper, for, anything that needs a repeat, but especially fabrics. Okay, oh, and hey, Joni Young is here. Good to see you, Joni. And yes, oh, thank you, Joni. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so now we've talked about how much money you can make. So now let's talk about how to get started. So it is actually shockingly easy to get started doing this. It's actually something you can do this afternoon, something you can do today. All you need are high quality digital images of your artwork. And what that just means is that you took a photo of it. So now, depending on the company, iCanvas, I have to use a very fancy DSLR camera because they want a super high resolution. But all the other licensing deals that I have, my iPhone camera photo works just fine, and I don't need to have a super duper high resolution, just the highest resolution that's on the phone. But it doesn't require any specific setup other than that. So you want to create a high quality digital image of your artwork, and this is what you're going to be sending to the company, typically on something like, you'll either email it to them or you'll do it through WeTransfer. And then what you'll want to do is keep your images and you can license those same images over and over, year after year. You can earn income even when you're old and decrepit and you aren't creating art anymore. Then you or your estate can continue making money off of your images. So it is really important. Keep those images. You can put them on a thumb drive. You can keep them somewhere. Keep them in a safe place because those images are gold for you. It's a nice retirement fund for you. It's nice income that can come in even if you aren't able to create artwork. So let me check over here in the chat. See, Rebecca says the problem I've had is that I don't do PayPal, and when I've tried Spoonflower, it's too expensive to buy samples up front. Okay, so Rebecca, yeah, if you don't personally do PayPal, you might have, like a friend or somebody else who can do PayPal for you, or some companies will also allow you payment through a check or through the bank. If you're working directly with a company, they'll work with you on it. If you're doing some retailers like Redbubble, it sounds like maybe Spoonflowers like this, where you have to have a PayPal account, then that's something that you might have to try and find a workaround for that. Okay, and then Ian, you only use your ABBA Greatest Hit album for the End of the World. Yeah, but it's comforting to know, Ian, that it is there when it's needed, right? Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so another thing is, and this is really a key thing, is growing your social media presence. So YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, these are, I used to have a Twitter account, but I closed my Twitter account because I felt like it wasn't really necessarily doing me anything. But I'm just focusing on these three. These are the ways that I have gotten a lot of my art licensing contacts and my art licensing deals, is because I've been super active on social media. And so what you guys are doing right now, being active on social media, growing your channels, whether that's YouTube, it's Facebook, it's Instagram. When you're doing that, you are raising your visibility, and retailers take notice of that. And that is how they will reach out to you. I've had several deals work that way, where that's how it worked for me with Finley and Company with the pocket squares. They reached out to me through a direct message in Instagram, and same thing with Crayola. That's how they reached out to me, was through Instagram, and through they'll look and they'll see your Facebook. They'll look and they'll see, do you align, you as an artist, do you align with them as a company? And then also, of course, do they like your artwork? But when you're building your social media presence, sometimes people think, oh, nobody's paying attention, or nobody knows. But that's actually not true, because companies are looking for fresh artwork, for fresh artists, they're also looking for established ones, but they're always looking for fresh and for what's new and things that will appeal to their audience. So it's really important, and you're already doing that by being active on social media. All right, so and you're not big on Twitter either, Steph. Yeah, it's some artists find it helpful, but I have just not found it helpful. So I ended up just closing my account, because there's how it is. There are always so many things to do, and juggling your time between creating original art, interacting on social media, having a real life. It's hard to juggle all of that. So just keeping it to a few accounts, or maybe even just one or two accounts, is kind of a strategy. So Rebecca, you say you've got 6,000 followers on Twitter, but it's uninspiring for you. You don't get engagement, but you love Instagram and YouTube. Yeah, that's how I feel too, Rebecca, is for me, it's that interaction back and forth and the community building that is, and the networking. It's really important. Okay, so now that we've talked about how to get started, it's another key thing here, is you'll want to decide if you want to go the freelance route, or you want to work with an art licensing agent. So there are different approaches. I am doing the freelance route, but other people will work with an art licensing agent, and that's just like what it sounds like. It's kind of like working with a talent agent. So what they will do, the art licensing agent, is they will find art licensing deals for you, and they will help manage, they're the go-between, and they will help you with your contracts and that type of thing. But for that, they take a very hefty fee, and the fee can be anywhere from 20% of your sales up to, say, 70% of your sales. They will take for doing that. Now, if you find a good agent, they can get you deals that you wouldn't be able to get on your own, because some companies will only work through agents. Some companies only work through freelancers, and some companies do a mix of those, or they might have a on-site or a company retained artist that does their artwork. So. Okay, so let me check the chat here and say what you're saying. Okay, Steph, you're saying, oh, and then, oh, and Helen, you're asking, what about Arteza? Okay, so Arteza, I had a deal with Arteza, and I still have a deal with Arteza, where periodically they will send me product, and then I will use the product and give my honest opinion on it and that type of thing. And so that is, I don't know if we call that a licensing deal or not. I think that is more of just a brand relationship kind of a thing, or that type of thing. It's, I don't get, for example, my images, I'm not licensing any images to Arteza, and they're not putting it on their product. But if they would, then that would be an example of an art licensing. So that's a great question, Helen. So what's the difference between art licensing and a branding deal? So a branding deal would be where they are maybe sending you free product in exchange for something for use or a giveaway, that kind of a thing. And then art licensing is they're giving you money. You're getting actual money or a check for them using your images. But that's a great question. Okay, so let's see here. And then Steph, you're saying that you like YouTube and Reddit, and you have a strong love-hate relationship with Instagram's algorithm. Yeah, that's the thing with Instagram too, is it seems like people are kind of fickle on Instagram, it seems like. I don't know if you guys noticed that too, if you feel like that. And then, okay, and then Ian, you say you've got Twitter, but you use it just with your football friends. And that's great. Okay, and then Rebecca, you're saying that you're on Etsy and Redbubble, and on Redbubble you've got a UK bank account that Redbubble will pay into. And yeah, okay, yeah. So Redbubble, and we'll actually talk about Redbubble here in a little bit. That's a good comment. Okay, all right. A sponsorship. Yeah. Rebecca, that's the word. A sponsorship. That's the term. And yeah, sponsorships can be where they pay you money for a sponsorship, or they give you free product. So okay. So yeah, once you determine if you want to go freelance. Now, if you're working with an art licensing agent, typically they don't want you also freelancing. Typically they would get you all of their work, but you can have a deal with an art licensing agent where they work their channels, and then if you get the deal, then you work through your channels. That's certainly possible to do that as well. Okay, so the next topic is, now that we talked about what it is, got examples, talked about how much money you can make, how to get started, let's talk about where to find art licensing deals. So, the trick here is that you want to be picky. Choose companies whose reputations are going to align with your core belief. So as you go along on this, you're going to find some companies might reach out to you and you don't feel like they have the same standards. If they don't have the same standards as you, just let it go and don't work with them, because it's important, because your artwork is going to be on their product. And so it needs to be a company that you believe in, a company that you align with. So you can go and how you'll know that is, if you don't already know the reputation of the company, you can go on their website and look at their About Us section, or you can learn more about them, do a little Google search. and then see, you know, what their reputation is. And if you like their reputation, you know, it's good. And if they have a bad reputation, it's best not to work with them. Or if it may be that you have a thing, let's say that you only want to work with sustainable companies or only companies that do they have a certain policy of human rights, or certain things might be important to you, then you can research that. And if the company lines up with that, then you would have a good match. So let me check the chat here and see. So Rebecca says, you've got 4 of your designs sold to Crayon Rocks, USA. And you got paid, your designs never got used, it was a bit of a dead duck. So yeah, so just keep going with it, Rebecca, because not every licensing deal will pan out. But the more deals that you do, that'll give you experience in doing them, and then you'll feel more comfortable. And then when the contract comes in, it'll be like, oh, hey, I've seen this kind of wording before, and you know what to look for, that kind of thing. So, so when you're looking for art licensing deal, how you can find out if a company works with freelance artists is you can look at their About Us section or look for the words, and a lot of times it's at the bottom of the web page. So if you scroll all the way down, there might be a thing that says collaborate with us or artists or submit artwork, something like that. And then you can look and see then if they are accepting artists for licensing, and then just follow their submission rules. And then another, and we've talked about this just on the last slide, would be to consider joining up with an art licensing agent. And in order to find that, what you can do is do a Google search for art licensing agent. And then the art licensing agents, depending on what they will do, is they will tend to do, they'll have a certain look. So you want to think about your artwork, and then think about, does your artwork look like the portfolio of artists that they currently carry for that that talent manager? Because if they they will have their people reach out, and if your stuff looks like it fits in line, like the color, the style, is it whimsical art? Is it serious art? Is it angry art? There are art licensing deals across the board for every type of art. So if you do look for an art licensing agent, or if you're looking for a company, look and see what they currently already have on their products. And if it looks like it's like, hey, it kind of fits in my genre, then they could be a candidate. So, oh, hey, the Unspeakable. Hey, good to see you. And oh, and Rebecca, you said there was no contract. Okay, yeah, oftentimes there's going to be, or not oftentimes, there is a contract for these. When you do the art licensing with these companies, there will be a contract that they'll have you sign. And let me grab it. I actually have one here. So here's the contract I had for the last art licensing agreement I just did. But just many, many pages, and it goes into real detail about, here I'm the licensor, and then the percent and the term. But they have licensee, licensor. They talk about special conditions, relationships of parties, indemnity, all this severability, non-waiver. It's a lot of lawyer speak, but what it really gets down to, the important things are, they'll talk about, is it a exclusive or a non-exclusive contract, and then the percent that you're going to get, the terms, and then how you'll be paid, that type of thing. Sometimes you'll get, and usually you're paid quarterly, which would be 4 times a year, and then how they'll pay, like they might do a check, they might do direct deposit to your bank, they might want to use PayPal, you know, that type of thing. Oh my goodness, Pencil Connoisseur, my son, you are here. It's good to see you. Okay, so, and that animated one, hey, welcome. So, so Pencil, we were actually talked about you a little bit earlier in the stream, just talking about original character art. That the original character art that you do is so well suited for art licensing. So if you aren't already doing this, I would strongly suggest you consider doing this, Pencil. So, okay, so now that we've talked about where to find the art licensing deals. Now I'd like to share with you a list of some companies, specific companies who do licensing. So, and I've got on here the actual link that you can do, and I will put these links in the description after this live is over. I will go in and cut and paste these into the description so you guys can go in and just go ahead and click and do some of these if you are interested in doing that. So, yeah, Helen, her son. Okay, so actually, Pencil, if I am your mother, then Helen Schaefer is your grandmother, and Dietrich Schaefer is your grandfather. All right, so I feel like Madonna is my sister, and I feel like Pencil is my son, although we aren't all biologically related, but we kind of just feel that, we feel that family spirit. Okay, so companies who license. Now, when I have a caveat here saying no vetting required. So all of the discussion that we've had here before would be where you're working with a specific company and they either ask you if they can license your work or you approach them or you would have a licensing agent involved. These first two companies listed here, you don't have to do that step. Redbubble and Zazzle are companies that you do not have to be vetted, which means you don't have to get permission from them to do it. And there isn't an agreement, and it's a large number of artists involved. The other companies that we're talking about would be they might have a smaller number of artists involved, or they're doing products that would be in retail stores, that kind of thing. If you do Redbubble or you do Zazzle, and I've done Zazzle, I've not ever used Redbubble, but I know a lot of people love it. These are the links, and then you can, people that go to the site can purchase your artwork if you identify it that it is open for the public to buy. Like Zazzle and Vistaprint, that kind of thing. You can make products, for example, I use both of those to make postcards, for example, of my work and my business cards. And instead I have my own template that I use, that kind of thing. But Zazzle, for example, has a thing where if you allow them to use your design, your original artwork design, and sell it, you can say what kind of upcharge you want. So, for example, let's say that a phone case is going to cost, I'm just going to pick a number X. Then, and then if you give the design, then you say what profit margin you want on that. And then how it works is somebody comes out to the site, and then they would want to buy your product, and then they would pay that, and then you would be getting a check from Redbubble, Zazzle, Vistaprint, whoever, for the difference for, like what the profit margin is that you said that you wanted. And a lot of, that's called print on demand is what that kind of service is. Now, you can make some money doing this type of thing where there's no vetting, but the real money in art licensing is in these other types of deals, because typically Redbubble, that kind of thing, there might be 10, 15,000 artists all competing for the same audience. And in these other companies, they're working directly with retailers or with manufacturers, and there's a lot more volume. So, maybe if there's a sale of, and you would really kind of need to do the marketing yourself, like say, hey, come, or tell people, go buy this on Redbubble, go buy this here. And so there might be a small number of sales or smaller number of sales, but your biggest opportunities come with these other opportunities here I'll show you next that do not have a vetting required, or that do vet, and so when you work with them, you have much more opportunity for larger profits. Although these are still great companies to work with, it's still a great thing to do. But if you want to go even larger, then you can go with these other routes here. So, okay, and I'll just check the chat here and see what you guys are up to. All right, and Rebecca, you say that you have your designs on Redbubble and have them printed on t-shirts, pouches, bags, etc. And you think you're not professional enough for companies to be interested in your designs. Now, you know what? I am going to disagree with you, Rebecca. You don't have to be profession. It doesn't have to be. There are artists who don't sell, for example, like I have my artwork in galleries and I also do licensing. There are some artists who only sell through galleries, don't do any licensing, but there are a large number of artists who don't sell their originals and everything is done through licensing and they can make a wonderful career doing that. So I want to encourage you, you don't have to be a certain, an artist of a certain reputation to be doing this. This is really open to everybody in every situation. So, and I'll kind of show you a thing here, is on the Crazy Shirts thing. So Crazy Shirts, for example, is a company where you are a freelance artist, you are vetted by them, and then you're one of their artists, and then they put out a prompt, and then you design for that prompt, and then if they pick your design, you get an upfront fee. Now, I want to show you here, so Clyban has their own page, and they have their own designs on here, and they get their own thing listed. So that's an example of a big-time artist, but here's just everybody else, and they don't on here say who the artist is. For example, on mine that they did, this was 5 years ago, they just named the shirt Impressions, and then here's the shirt that was sold. But as the artist, all these artists, we all get the same, we all get, for doing these designs, we all would get, all these different, everybody gets their royalty fee. And Crazy Shirts comes up with new catalogs all the time, so they are constantly looking for new artists. And I'll show you the Crazy Shirts link here in a little bit, but that's a great company to do a deal with. Okay, and so so pencil, I would 100% recommend that you do art licensing. It's almost like you are tailor-made for this. I would especially recommend Crazy Shirts for you, pencil. Also, fabric design, I think, would be great for you, that kind of thing. And Ian, one man's meat is another man's poison. And you know what? It's absolutely true, Ian. And that's the thing, too, is thinking about you as an artist. You want to think about what are your goals? What do you want to have? What do you not want to have? And that's what's so nice, that we as artists, we can decide our own future. We can decide what we want to do. We don't have to do what we don't want to do, that kind of thing. So, oh, and Rebecca, thank you for saying that. You are so sweet. Thank you, thank you. So, okay, so we've talked about where to find these deals, and now when we're talking about these companies who license. So Robert Kaufman Fabrics. So, and Madonna, I think you work with fabrics sometimes. I know that when you're creating, you created your gnomes and you did something like, I thought you did some gnomes the other day. But anyway, fabrics, for those of you who know fabrics, Robert Kaufman is a wonderful vendor. But they work with freelancers, and so what they will do is they will work with a design repeat that's like an entire painting, something like that. But they also typically what they work with is something that would be a thing where you've made, like for example, Rebecca did her thing with her orange slices, or pencil. If you were to take one of your characters and then repeat the character. And so you would take a digital image of your drawing, or you would create it digitally and then make repeats of that. And so for those of you who are wondering how that process works, Erica Lancaster, a fellow YouTuber and friend, she's done a series of, I know at least one of them, there might even be a series of, but I'm thinking of one in particular, a video explaining how to create step and repeat designs of your artwork that can be used. So how this works is all you do is you click on submission at robertkaufman.com, and you go, and then they have you upload your things that you are interested in having them consider, and then they will respond back to you. But wouldn't it be neat to see your artwork on fine fabric in fabric stores everywhere? And then people who do quilts, people who make jumpers, people who are making blanket, whatever it is, your images can be out and out in the world, and you can be making the world a better place through your artwork. Okay, so, oh, and hey, I see that Alina Arts is here. Good to see you. And okay, so Pencil says, oh, Mother, thanks. Yes, Pencil, absolutely. Pencil this afternoon. Get started on this. And then Unspeakable, you said, Dena, do you sign your t-shirt art? Okay, so in this case, here, I'll bring this one back. So this one was a design that was for Crazy Shirts in 2014. And they have, what they did is that deal was a thing where I'm paid up front, and that they do their logo, which is CSI, which is like Crazy Shirts something. I think it's Crazy Shirts International. So in this case, I did not sign it, but I would sign, normally I would sign these other things. So let me show you for the deal I just had with Finley and Company, the pocket squares. If you go look at their Finley and Company online, they will, you can see the different collections that they have, and my collection is going to be coming out in the next couple months. So I just got the samples and did the unboxing. So it's Finley and Company, and so in this case, I'll show you. These are silk squares that men would wear for a suit, and so here my name is on the corner, and then they added their logo, and they printed these in Italy, and they're just gorgeous. So yeah, so my name is on there, and then on the website they'll also say it's the Dena Tollefson collection, and that's how they promote that. So these squares are they retail for $90 each, and then so here's my name, and then here's a logo at the bottom, and then they had these they did a beautiful job sewing the edges. So these edges are hand sewn, and if you buy the whole collection, I want to say they come out to like $70 each if you buy the whole collection, which is 3 of each artist. But I am so excited about this licensing deal. This is a real thrill for me. I'm so excited. So, t-shirts, here's the link for Crazy Shirts. And now Crazy Shirts, here, when you work with them, they have certain, like a certain limit of colors. And I want to say it's like either 8 or 10 colors. And once you're in there working with them, then they they'll give you all of the information. But based on the ink, they have a certain number of inks that they can put into their manufacturing, but they'll do a lot run of like 1,000, I think it's 1,500 shirts at a time, something like that. And then you get paid up front, and then you also get a bonus if your design sells out. Okay, and so next, art prints. So I'm at Noir Gallery, and they do art prints, which would be like giclée prints for the wall, that type of thing. And then there is also Wild Apple and McGaw Graphics that will do licensing. Now, I'm also with iCanvas, but iCanvas does not have, they don't advertise how to get a hold of them. They just reach out to artists that they're interested in. I was approached by them through, it was either Facebook or through my Instagram account. I don't know which, but that's why as artists, it's super important to be, growing your social media accounts, growing those and staying active on those, and put your best foot forward on those, because companies are watching, and if this is something that you're interested in doing, then they'll notice you over time, and you can get these deals here. Greeting cards. So Lean and Tree greeting cards. They work with freelance artists, and then there's another company called Kickerland, and if you have ideas for a new product, they'll give you a 5% royalty. Greeting cards, a lot of times how they work is you might get paid up front, like for a design, and then they will then have the copyright for that design. All these other products, you keep the copyright. or all these other companies. I try and work with companies where I would keep my copyright. That way I can keep using, and that way you can keep selling your same design over and over and over to other companies over time. Okay. Oh, and hey, Aggie Pixie is here. All right, wonderful. Okay, yes, they were gnomes made with sheep's wool, Madonna. Yes, okay. Yeah, well, Rebecca, your dream might be starting today. This is why it's so exciting, and literally the sky is the limit with this. And so it's a dream of yours, Rebecca, to have your designs licensed on fabric or wallpaper or both. Yes, yes. So AJ Wallpaper, I just signed a license deal with them, and I'm on their website now. They're out of Sydney, Australia, and they also have a location in the United States. But that's a wallpaper company. I applied to let me get the one back out for Robert Kaufman Fabrics. I applied for Robert Kaufman Fabrics and sent them some designs, and I wasn't accepted, but I'm not going to let that get me down, because I'll just do, maybe another 6 months from now, I'll go ahead and submit some other things, and you never know when something will catch someone's eye, or the company is thinking, hey, we want to move in this direction, or let's, there's maybe a color trend, or there's a, whatever, and they're going to be looking for something different. So yeah, oh my gosh, fabric, wrapping paper is another exciting thing to get your artwork on. Okay, so now, and then, oh yeah, isn't this exciting? And oh, and Aggie Pixie, I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you so much, Aggie, and Alina, I'm so glad that you are here today. And also, I appreciate you guys, your thumbs up, and I appreciate you sharing this video. I appreciate you guys subscribing and ringing the subscription bell, and your friendship. And it means a lot to me that you guys are here. And we do really have a wonderful art community here. I really appreciate you guys. Okay, so here's another thing. Cartoons and paper products. So there's a company called Andrews McMeel, and they do calendars, paper products, that type of thing. But look at this, especially for any of our cartoon friends, people who do cartoons, that type of thing. Pencil, One Mighty R, if you're watching later. If you want to get syndicated or have a license, have your character licensed, that type of thing. This is a great place that you can go in and get your art put out there. So let me check the chat here. And yeah, oh, thank you, Steph. And you know what, Steph, your work, there's a lot of products I am picturing. Your Steph is such an amazing painter. I'm picturing, think about products that are made, that are sold in the golf course pro shop. You can even go look, for example, Steph, if you're thinking about, hey, can I get some of my art, my golf art, on some golf products? So a great way to do that would be to look and say, all right, here's a product that I saw in a pro shop, and it's a mug, or it's something, or it's whatever. Look on the bottom, turn it over and look at the bottom, and look at the name of the manufacturer. And if you contact that manufacturer, it may be that's how you get another licensing deal. So anything that will hold, and we talked about that here at the beginning, examples of art licensing, it's literally any surface that will have a printed design is open to art licensing. Golf bags, absolutely, absolutely. And we do, Alina, we do grow as a family, and we support each other. I love how supportive everybody is here, and it's just a wonderful thing. And so, yeah, absolutely. Thank you, and thank you. Yes. So, yeah, country clubs directly. So larger companies, yeah. So Steph, if you go with, so the pro shop is going to be, for example, buying their inventory from different manufacturers. And so if you have on the manufacturer's thing, then your golf art is going to go literally all over the world. Your golf art can be printed on things and be all over the world. So it's very exciting. So now let's talk about, now that we've talked about some art licensing, a list of companies who license, let's talk about art licensing resources. So there is online, there is a great source here, and it's artist Tara Reid. She has a, it's called The Abundant Artist. There's a lot of free things that you can read. They also have a subscription service and some things that you can read. I've just read the free stuff over the years, but I've been reading, following her website and her blog for years. And once you look on here, then you can find other artists, and you can also do a Google search on art licensing blogs. There are a lot of great resources out there to find additional information and that type of thing. So you've returned. Your biological mother rang you out of the blue. Oh, well, tell your other mother hello for me, Pencil. That's great. Yeah, Ian, absolutely. Wedding napkin art. I mean, it is unbelievable. All of the options of what is out there for licensing. So I want to just open this up to any questions that you guys have been doing great with asking questions as we go. Are there any other questions that you might have for me on this topic? Okay, and so Rebecca is saying you found it very difficult knowing how to fill out the online forms when contacting art agents. Yeah, it's one of those things where it seems intimidating. You know, if I look at that, I'm gonna pull that contract back here again. This contract that I just filled out for AJ Wallpaper, you know, it's multi-page, but a lot of the stuff is boilerplate, and they have the same wording, you know, in all contracts. So it's a thing where the first time you look at it, it's kind of overwhelming, and then after a while, the language is just kind of normal. And you can always get a lawyer too if you feel like, you know, you need to ask a lawyer information, questions, that type of thing. They have contract lawyers do that all the time, and they can also help if you need that too. Okay, and so Steph, you're asking, you're saying thank you for helpful information. Oh, unofficial mentors, thank you, Steph. You are so nice. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. So, all right, you guys. Well, I want to thank you for being here today. And Madonna says it's been a lot of great information. Thank you, Madonna. I appreciate all of you guys. You guys are wonderful. I can't wait to see you again. And we are all one art family. And I appreciate you all. And I can't wait to see you. So until next time, this is Dena Tollefson, and all my best to you. Bye-bye.